Consider for a moment the humble, faithful cell within the body, a red blood cell coursing through a capillary, a neuron firing in the quiet of the mind, a fibroblast quietly knitting tissue back together. This cell does not pause its eternal dance of metabolism to ask, when does my life truly begin? It does not fret over the existential weight of its origin or dread the certainty of its end. It simply functions. It exists in a perpetual, vibrantly active now. Its purpose is not bound to a linear story of start and finish. Its purpose is its present action, its participation in a grand symphonic cooperation that utterly transcends our human addiction to narrative sequence. This cellular wisdom stands in a stark opposition to the primary architecture of the human mind. Our consciousness is a magnificent but often misguided storyteller, one obsessed with sequence and consequence. It demands a beginning, a middle, and an end. It sees life as a line drawn from birth to death, a project launched and completed, a race started and won or lost. We worship the altars of start and finish, believing them to be the fundamental pillars of reality. We judge our worth by how far we've come from our perceived starting line, and we measure our success by the proximity of a shimmering, often elusive finish line. This, according to the Hermetic Principle of Polarity, is a profound misunderstanding, a confusion of one extreme on a continuum for a separate, isolated truth. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites, teaches the Kybalion. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. The beginning is not separate from the ending. They are the same point on the circle, merely perceived from a different position. They are two poles of a single unified experience of being. To be fixated on one pole, the start, and to anxiously await to supposed opposite, the finish, is to be trapped in a mental illusion, a tyranny of our own making. Nowhere is this fallacy of this linear narrative more beautifully disproven than in the body's innate intelligence. Consider the process of healing within our own form. When we cut a finger, does a single cell stand up and declare, I shall now commence the 5-stage healing protocol to be completed in 7 to 10 business days? No. The healing happens now in a trillion sequences, but in a unified swarm to form a clot in a dance of urgent cooperation. Immune cells identify and neutralize invaders not one by one in a queue, but through a network of simultaneous signals. Fibroblasts weave new tissue in a silent, coordinated symphony that arises all at once. There is no linear story with a clear start authored by a central planner. It is a complex, emergent harmony of countless agents, each operating according to its function and the universal laws of cause and effect with vibration. The body understands at a cellular level what the conscious mind forgets. Existence is a state of constant cyclical becoming, not a journey between two arbitrary points. This tyranny of the timeline that we impose upon ourselves creates a fundamental schism in our perception of how to move through the world. It forces a false, brittle choice between two great cosmic principles: cooperation and competition. We are taught to see them as irreconcilable opposites. To cooperate is to be weak. To compete is to be strong. One is for the collective, the other for the individual. This is a either or prison. A direct byproduct of seeing life as a race with one winner. If the journey is aligned from start to finish, then surely we must be running against others to get there first. Yet, Hermetic wisdom, mirrored by the observable intelligence of nature, invites us into the liberating both and reality. The principle of polarity shows us that these are not enemies, but two poles of the same essential force. The drive to express, to thrive, and to create. The synthesis of these poles is known in strategic thought as Coopetition, the dynamic practice of collaborating to expand the entire field of play, even as we strive for excellence within. The cell does not choose between cooperating with the body and competing for resources. It does both seamlessly, as facets of its single function. We can witness this reconciled polarity in action far from the boardrooms we've previously discussed. Look at the foundation of the digital age, open source software. The Linux operating system, which runs the vast majority of the world's servers and forms the bedrock of the internet, is a monument of cooperation. It is built and maintained by a global community of programmers who contribute code freely to a shared kernel. Yet, within the cooperative commons, fierce competition thrives. Corporations like IBM, Google, Red Hat compete intensely to provide the best support services, the most innovative distributions, and the most powerful enterprise solutions based on that shared foundation. They compete in the realm of value-added service, but they cooperate on the fundamental underlying truth, the code itself. This is not a contradiction, but a sophisticated spiral. The cooperative core, the below, enables and fuels endless competitive innovation at the edges, the above, perfectly embodying the Hermetic principle of correspondence, as above, so below. This dance is ancient. Consider the fig tree and its specific wasp, a partnership refined over 60 million years. The fig's flower is enclosed within its fruit. To be pollinated, it depends utterly on one species of tiny wasp. The wasp enters, pollinates the flower, and lays its eggs, using the fruit as a nursery. In turn, the developing wasp larvae feed on a small portion of the fig seeds. Here, competition and cooperation are indivisible. The tree competes for its seeds' survival against the wasp's larvae appetite, while the wasp competes to reproduce. Yet, this very competition is the mechanism of their deepest cooperation. The tree's sacrifice ensures its pollination, and the wasp's hunger ensures its offspring and the tree's future. They are locked in a spiral of life and death, where the poles of rivalry and partnership are the same thing. It is a biological expression of polarity in its rawest, most elegant form. When we internalize this, when we release the mind's need to place start and finish as the bookends of our experience, a profound liberation occurs. We begin to see that the harmony between cooperation and competition is not a balance to be stuck in the future, but a reality to be recognized in the present. Our work within a team is not a prelude to a later individual triumph. The act of sharing an idea, cooperation, and the act of refining it to excellence, competition with our own previous limitations, are one flowing motion happening now. The Kybalion's principle of vibration states, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. We are not nouns, runners, traveling from point A to point B. We are verbs. We are a process of becoming. We are a focal point of consciousness within an infinite mental universe. This is the principle of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. Our lives did not begin at birth. They transitioned into a new form of expression. They will not finish at death. They will transition again in the vast cyclical rhythms governed by the principle of rhythm, where everything flows out and in, starts and finishes are but beats in an eternal measure. To heal the perceived rift between cooperation and competition, we must first heal the primary rift in our own mind. The belief that we are in a line instead of a living within a circle. Seeing the cycles helps. Feeling the vibration in every cell, which knows nothing of finish lines, only function and harmonic integration. Observing the world and seeing the unity of polarities everywhere, from the symbiotic dance in a fig tree to the collaborative competitive engine of open source creation. Then we can turn inward. We can practice holding our own opposites, strength and vulnerability, logic and intuition, giving and receiving. In conscience, present moment tension, we don't need to seek to eradicate one in favor of the other, waiting to finish with weakness so we can start with strength. Engaging in the inner negotiation now is possible, for in that active, present tense reconciliation, we stepped off the narrow path of the linear story. We cease to be characters racing toward an ending and becoming conscious co-creators in the eternal, cycling dance of polarity. We stop asking when our lives begin or where they will end. Like the cell, we can simply, fully function now. We can resonate on the frequency where cooperation and competition are understood not as conflicting choices, but as a twin and harmonious rhythms of a single unified existence.